My name's Pete, and this is the first in a new series of interviews featuring devs building exciting things from within the Mina Protocol ecosystem. Today I'm joined by the brains behind Fizk Protocol, a new native algorithmic stablecoin designed specifically for Mina. It's a big step towards unlocking DeFi possibilities on the network, and I'm really looking forward to learning about how it works and what's coming next. Take it away, Charles and Charlie.
Thank you.
Sure. I guess we'll just introduce ourselves a little bit. It won't take too long. Yeah, I'm Charlie. I live in Amsterdam, but I'm English. I'm married and I have a 7-month-old baby, which has made developing Fizk over the past few months very challenging, but also rewarding. I've been developing in Web3 for about 3 years. I got interested in zk at a hackathon last year at Berlin. And then from there, sort of was invited to apply for a Mina grant. Sort of looked at Mina, found it super interesting, and then sort of looked at the ecosystem and wanted to make as big an impact as possible. And so, looking at the sort of relatively underutilized capabilities of DeFi, I thought building a stablecoin would be an awesome challenge to do on Mina. So that's how Fizk sort of started. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm Charles. I'm half Swedish, half French. Currently based in Stockholm. I have 2 little kids, and which made it even more challenging perhaps. A background in various startups and scale-ups, both in the legal sector and tech, and recently been focusing on product and engineering teams. When Charlie called me almost 6 months ago now, introducing me to his work and his ideas for an algorithmic crypto-backed stablecoin, I had no idea what it was. So it's been a very steep learning curve, and I imagine that that you will have a lot of questions going forward here that I asked myself back in December.
Sure, yeah. I've got some questions prepared for you guys. I guess today I just kind of want to give people like a kind of insight to what you're doing and the plans and stuff. Okay, so like the first one, I guess, is why does Mina need a stable coin like zkUSD instead of just using something like USDC or a bridged asset?
Sure. I think the answer is really twofold. You've got on one side, you want Mina to sort of stand up on its own 2 feet, right? It's a layer 1 blockchain and it has its own decentralized vision. And so if you just sort of throw your hands up and say, hey, building it's not as sort of performant as maybe Solana or Ethereum, and then, putting your hands up and saying, we can't, we might as well just bridge the assets over there. You're kind of like throwing in the towel on your decentralized vision, because you're then just using the models of EVM, right, of this replicated state, rather than the off-chain computation. So I think it's really important, in order to develop its own DeFi ecosystem and its own economy, to develop what is probably the most foundational building block of a DeFi ecosystem on a chain, which is a stablecoin. The other one that I would say is that kind of like the biggest issue plaguing stable coins in today's sort of environment is the regulation. We had a big issue with a colossal crash after Terra USDT failed, and because of that, regulators have gotten really strict on stable coins. And so all of the sort of algorithmic stablecoins that are trying to hold true to the vision of decentralized sort of future are really struggling to adhere to this regulation. I think zk really could unlock the potential there to have our cake and eat it too, by being able to adhere to these financial regulations and policies that protect the end user from these horrific crashes. But also being decentralized and holding on to that vision as well. So by developing this on Mina, we can make use of zk from the ground up at a foundational level, and really utilize this technology to to try and tackle that huge problem. And if you tackle it, it could be absolutely huge, not just for Mina, but for the overall Web3 ecosystem as a whole. So I think that's why it's really important to build one on Mina.
I guess you touched on it there, Charlie, and I think what a lot of people question they would have is like with a stable coin, especially zkUSD one, how would it maintain its value, and what happens if something perhaps goes wrong, or there's something goes wrong in the market and there's a big drop, or how does it sustain its value?
Sure. So it's got two ways. On the protocol level, it sustains its value by always having enough collateral in the system for the outstanding debt. So we as a protocol will say you can always redeem collateral worth $1 for the dollar of debt that you have in the system. And then on the trading level, it maintains it through a soft peg. So if you have you're floating the price of a pool, let's say Mina to zkUSD. If there's a lot of buy pressure and zkUSD starts trading above $1, then you're incentivized to go to the protocol, mint zkUSD, and sell it on the market, and you'll make profit from arbitrage. And if it's trading under $1, then borrowers are incentivized to go and buy it from the market and then pay down their debt. So that's how it sort of maintains its value on the market. Additionally, how we can guarantee that the collateral in the system is always backing the dollar is through a price feed. So that's how we de-risk that from the protocol level. And we use a zk native price feed where we collect prices from oracles. We put it through a zero knowledge proof, a zk program that creates a zero knowledge proof that means that we always maintain that dollar backing. The collateral is always worth $1 based on this price feed. Now, if you have vaults that have created zkUSD, and generally how they're created is through this collateralization ratio, where we have this buffer. So not only do we have enough collateral to back the outstanding debt, but there's a buffer of 50% on top of that. So 150% over collateralized loans. Now, when if you have a price drop on a vault and that vault goes below 150%, then what anyone can do is come and liquidate their vault, which will essentially, they can pay down the debt on that user's behalf and access the collateral, some of the collateral within, with a little bonus in order to incentivize that activity. And so the system itself is self-regulating. Users are incentivized to maintain the financial health of their vaults, and if they don't, then they're penalized. And so by the system. Now, if you have like extreme price volatility to the point where the system is unable to keep up with self-regulating these vaults through liquidations, then we have a couple of protocol defense mechanisms that we can engage. One of these is a reserve fund that we generate from protocol revenue that we can use to purchase the bad debt in insolvent vaults. And the other is when we do eventually launch a network token, which will primarily be used for governance. What we can do is we can sell that on the market and use that in order to purchase the bad debt. That's the last line of defense in order to sort of defend the peg and maintain the peg.
Cool. I heard you mention something. You're talking about vaults there. They seem to be central to the system. Can you kind of explain in simple terms how someone like me would use one of those?
Sure. So a vault is just it's the overall sort of term for these things are collateralized debt positions, and some people call them safes, some people call them vaults, some protocols call them vaults. We're calling them vaults, and it's just an area where a user can go and deposit collateral in and then mint from that collateral. So a vault is locked down to a user unless it drops below that over collateralization ratio. So once you create a vault in zk in the fizk protocol, you can only you have the ability to deposit into it, to withdraw from it, to burn the debt in it, and to mint new debt, mint new zkUSD. And then if you drop below that over collateralization ratio, then anyone can come and do it. How you interact with it is we've developed a front end, which you can find on our website. So that's a really easy graphical user interface, GUI, to interact with vaults. So you can do all of the sort of activity on there. Otherwise, we've created an SDK for if you want to programmatically interact with vaults, which is going to be very important if you want to take advantage of the economic incentives to liquidate. You can monitor the financial health of vaults, and as soon as one drops below, you can just send through a liquidation, and you can earn the sort of rewards that you get from that. And then,
sorry, just to interrupt. On your website that connects with, would that connect with Aura Wallet? Yeah.
Yes. So you can use Aura Wallet on the website. With the SDK, you have to provide your private key somehow.
Right.
And then with the CLI, we also have a CLI, which is just a really easy sort of command line interface to be able to interact with vaults.
So in theory, other people in the ecosystem can plug into that as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Sorry, I interrupted you there. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think the two main ways are through the CLI and the front end.
Cool. No, it sounds good. Also, one of the exciting ideas is you mentioned is like the interest loans or negative interest loans. How does that work? Basically, how is that, and how would that be sustainable? I mean, you kind of touched on it before, but I wonder if you could kind of just go into that a little bit more.
Sure. So, fizk and zkUSD is kind of modeled after MakerDAO's sort of battle tested, MakerDAO DAI's battle tested model with this over collateralization. Now they charge you for creating debt and adding risk to the system. They charge you a stability fee. When you pay back your debt, you've also got to pay back an interest rate on your loan, which is pretty standard. With Mina, we can do something more interesting. Instead of charging a fee, because you're depositing the collateral into our system, we can stake that. And that's actually how the protocol earns revenue. Now, the protocol's revenue is going to be split up into 3 different areas. It's going to be split up into the reserve fund. It's going to be split up to going to the protocol treasury. But also, we're going to be able to pay back some value to the users. So, which is essentially a negative interest rate on your loan. So if you just maintain the financial health of your vault and mint some zkUSD, just over time, your loan's going to pay off itself, which is a great economic advantage. And we can only make use of that because of the economic model and the proof of stake model, consensus model of Mina. It's sustainable because that's just money that's just rewards that would be being generated anyway. So there's nothing being created out of thin air. It's just the general inflation of the Mina chain that
they can be on it.
Yep.
What would you say are the biggest challenges building a stable coin on Mina compared with something like Ethereum?
Sure. So if you want to look into more like technical details about this, we have some presentations that I'm sure we can link to that we've done as part of this sort of our grant journey. But essentially, there's 2 main ones that we see. The big one is the sort of performance of the chain. It's pretty slow, and the capacity is not great compared to sort of EVM chains, which introduces financial risk, especially with price drop events and can liquidations keep up. And so we've done some modeling. We do have some ways to tackle that risk, such as pausing the creation of vaults. If too many vaults are created, we can pause that until the network improves. But also we'll see some major improvements in autumn when we get the network upgrade coming through. And then the other is like all the development challenges that are introduced from Mina. It's a lot easier to develop on EVM with Solidity. The off-chain computation model is pretty awesome, but it introduces these challenges such as state management and concurrency. And so we've had to, bash our heads against the wall, to be able to sort of persevere and build something that works according to the current constraints that we can actually deploy on layer one. Big shout out to the community member DFST. He's been invaluable in sort of providing design patterns and helping us to be able to actually build out something that works.
Yeah, he's very cool. He's my partner with the Mina Developers Alliance as well. So
yeah,
we're constantly amazed how much stuff he does.
I swear it's not just one guy. He must be like 10 people for his output. It's incredible.
Yeah. No, I don't know how he does it, to be honest. I wanted to ask you about the timelines, what you're working towards, but you just kind of touched on like the challenges of building around Mina. So I wanted to ask you, how do you see zkUSD and fizk protocol fitting into the Mina's broader future, especially things like zk rollups and obviously ProtoKit on the horizon?
I can touch a bit on the timeline a little bit, and then I'll leave over to Charlie for the broader future. We're obviously reached the end of a phase where we, through a series of grants from the Mina Foundation, have developed for a DevNet release. We've had some really promising results on that, and good response from the community. So at this stage, we're looking to secure funds, which will allow us then to continue to develop fizk and hopefully get it onto a mainnet release. So the first few steps there, if we were to secure funding, would be to build a team, set up the entity, and then we will have to tackle quite a few significant challenges within both development and then with respect to regulation as well. Charlie touched on that before. But some of the big milestones that we, of course, can't do without is to list on a DEX. We want to, deliver the multi-sig for decentralized governance as well.
Yeah.
And legally, we need to work with regulatory experts within the field and also jurisdiction where we choose to set up at the outset. As Charlie mentioned before, it's a tougher climate out there for stable coins. They're being commoditized, they're being existing regulation, which has been formed for traditional financial institutions, really have somehow pigeonholed stable coins to being accepted in the larger markets, especially then with respect to fiat-backed coins. So we're operating in an environment now where we also need to somehow pioneer the journey a little bit into the future for how a crypto-backed over-collateralized stablecoin will look and work with regulations tomorrow and thereafter.
How challenging do you think that will be? Do you kind of have a way in there? Can you see a kind of end goal?
There's this generic trend as regulations tighten up in the EU and in the US as well, with Stable Bill and Genius Act coming through potentially, and more DeFi founders generally seek a jurisdiction where they can set up and operate with sufficient decentralization to be compliant and follow all the rules and regulations without it being too a strangling factor on development and the search for product market fit. So at a first stage, one would hope to decentralize enough and as much as we can, of course, whilst being able to develop the protocol so that it's stable and great and people want to use it. And then once the product market fit is there, we would look to further decentralize. And Charlie mentioned the governance token or the network token, really, with a governance aspect to it previously. And there are various ways of setting up your operations to hopefully adhere to regulations, even in the more difficult markets long term.
I think also with it being a zk stablecoin, there's potential for interoperability with with other zk projects, there's a really good zk community out there that kind of will really support the projects like this. I think the opportunity is definitely there to do something, and I think long term it's essential to get that regulatory.
Absolutely. If we're not, going to see the death of decentralization and everything being strangled, I think there is a way forward, and we will find it, which is exciting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a really cool project, and it's. But people can actually go and see it or check it out on the DevNet, the testnet. Is it on DevNet?
Yes. Yeah. So it's on DevNet.
We'll share all the links for that.
Yeah. So, and if you need DevNet tokens, you can go to the faucet to try it out, and or you can sort of join our Discord or join our Telegram, and we're happy to sort of like help you out and give you some tokens to try it out.
Absolutely. Charlie, did you want to mention anything on the Mina's broader future with
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so we wanted to maximize our interoperability. So that's why we chose to develop on layer 1. But, as we learn more and we're more than willing to put our hands up and say and change things as we learn more. And sort of so some things that could be possible if we can create zkUSD as a roll-up potentially in the future, and then have it bridge to other roll-ups, app chains, but also EVM and Solana, so that we can increase the performance but still make use of Mina as a settlement layer. I think that's good. That could be really powerful. Also, I think like we're talking about regulation, and I think that if we are able to, so right now in terms of zk, all of the. So we've got a zk native Oracle feed, but the account balances and transactions, that's all everyone can see it. It's just a normal sort of transactions on a chain. If we can find out the ability to have a confidential stable coin, but still adhere to global monetary policy on anti-money laundering, transaction monitoring, and KYC, and maintain a decentralized protocol that performs zk KYC so that you can prove who you are without actually revealing your identity to anyone that's watching. But that data is available to the regulatory agencies that is required. So if we can develop this system that's essentially would be like a decentralized bank, right? That would be absolutely huge. And I think with the zk technology, it's possible, but it's something that we need to explore later on. But it's an exciting space to be in, and I think that can fit in with Mina's future, trying to with it being a settlement layer where we can just manage this sort of like confidential stablecoin ecosystem, but then settle down to Mina so that you get the sort of security benefits from that. That would be sort of something we'd like to aim for.
I think it's a really awesome project what you're doing, and what I'd really like to do is kind of catch up with you and kind of keep us up to date with how progress is going in coming months, because like I say, I think it's a really important project, and it's something that can really expand the whole Mina ecosystem in a positive way. So good luck.
Thank you very much.
I can say. I guess kind of that sort of wraps things up. Unless there's anything you guys want to let us know, we'll share all the links to all the website and everything along with the recording. But if there's anything else you can think of you'd like people to know, feel free to just say. Yeah, no,
I guess I just want to thank the community. It's been really sort of welcoming to zkUSD and fizk, and like everyone's super helpful. And just to say, we'd love you to try it out. Check out the website. Contribute to us, early. That'd be awesome. We hope to be able to reward that in the future. But yeah, sort of exciting time, and hopefully we can bring it across the finish line.